the October 2020 meeting, I'll subscribe to the session.
Hey, I appreciate that,
I'll
Sheriff.
give you, sir.
He
I'll
just-
get my mind looking at you.
He just cashed that check again.
Please cut your cell phone aside and vibrate. Please stand for the prayer and quote. Prayer will be given by Supervisor Preston.
All right, let us pray. Heavenly Father, God, we come to you today. Thankful for everything that you've given us, God. We are not worthy of anything that you do, but you so humbly give us blessings each and every day. God, we pray that you put your special hedge of protection around the men and women who put on uniform each and every day to protect what we have here at home and abroad. God, we pray for our country. We pray for our nation. We pray for our state, and we pray for our county. Father, I pray that we look to you for answers and not to men. And we ask these things in your name. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Todd. We have approval of agenda even date.
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Approval of minutes.
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. We have a proclamation of Domestic Violence Awareness Month, presented by Supervisor John Bucks.
All right. I'll read it and I'll leave it off here on the top. All right. Whereas crime of domestic violence violates an individual's privacy and dignity, security, and humanity due to systematic use of physical, emotional, sexual, psychological, and economic control of all who are victimized, and whereas the problems of domestic violence are not confined to any group or groups of people, but cut across all economic, racial, and social barriers, and are supported by societal differences, and whereas the impact of domestic violence is wide-ranging, directly affecting individuals and society as a whole, here in our county, the state of Mississippi, in the United States, and the world, and whereas we recognize the compassion and dedication of law enforcement, victim advocates, healthcare providers, clergy, and concerned citizens who all work and strive to end domestic violence, and whereas domestic violence awareness challenges all citizens to actively participate in increasing public understanding the toxicity of this problem and work towards improving victim safety while also holding offenders accountable for their actions against both individuals and our community as a whole. Now, therefore, the Board of Supervisors of Lauderdale County do hereby proclaim the month of October to be Domestic Violence Awareness Month and urge all citizens to observe this month by finding ways to become more aware of the impact of domestic violence on the community and by supporting agencies like HumanWatch who work toward breaking the cycle of abuse by meeting the needs of families struggling to break free. Let us remember those who have lost their life and find ways to help those who are still trying to break free. So resolved, this 5th day of October 2020, and this is signed by our Board President, Kyle Rutledge. Mr. President, I put this in the form of a motion.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it.
Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you so much for letting me speak for just a second. Caroline was thrilled to be able to celebrate its 40th year of service to the community across Central Mississippi. And October is a special month for us because it is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. And though we do educate about domestic violence throughout the year, October is that big highlight for us. So we want to share with the community. Last year in Lauderdale County, while the rate of simple domestic violence cases lessened, the rate of aggravated domestic violence cases more than doubled. Additionally, Caroline served nearly 500 districts in Lauderdale County alone last year. So that means that we've got a lot of work to do still and continue to. One way that we're going to work this year over the next 3 years is Caroline was recently granted $550,000 from the Department of Justice to provide transitional housing assistance to victims of domestic violence, sexual assault, and stalking. So this money will go right back to the community, and the ways that it helps is it will assist victims and their families with rent, utilities, child care, transportation, cell phone assistance, and various other ways to legal advocacy, and everything that comes along with that. So our goal is to just meet the needs and potential domestic violence, whatever that means. So that's a little bit about what Caroline is doing. This month, to highlight Domestic Violence Awareness Month, we are doing a virtual 5K, so that starts next week. We're going to do a coupon event. In order to register, all you have to do is just go on the website and buy a t-shirt, or there's even an option if you don't want a t-shirt, you just want to participate. And that way you can run the 5K wherever you decide to run it or walk it, and then you can send us your results and you'll be entered into compete with that, as well as the best regular 5K photos. So another t-shirt on our photo poster. And so we'll be giving prizes. We have Amazon gift cards, Olive Garden gift cards, several other different gifts and prizes that are provided by businesses. Additionally, this month we're doing My Light Shines. It's a campaign with yard signs and purple light bulbs. You might have seen some around town already. And so we are providing those. The light bulbs are $5, the signs are $15. And so that's just our way to shine either from your doorstep or from your yard for victims. One, to support victims who are trying to break free. One, to remember those who have lost their lives. And then another way to just support survivors of domestic violence. The last thing is October 23rd. We're doing a virtual conference. It's Friday, October 3rd, 8 a.m. to 4:30. Our special guest speaker keynote is Lon Clinton. He is a retired law enforcement from the Nashville Police Department. Additionally, we have special guest speakers from the community, Brady Public School District, and the Survivor of American War. So those are just the many ways that Caroline is trying to promote awareness and information about domestic violence this month. I brought some Caroline hand sanitizer sprays for y'all to have and carry with you, and they are refillable. So you can have that in your brochures. Thank y'all so much.
Thank you. I'll need to go back and approve the work session minutes on this past work sessions.
Somebody. Second.
Discussion. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it. That is Betty Lou Jones.
So, Mr. President, I see that Mr. Lafferty has to have a number 9. Do we want to, when we do that with Betty Lou, or you just want to do it at the normal time? Morning. Speak.
It's a pleasure for me to be here today representing Keep Reading Montgomery County Youth, which is an affiliate of Keep Mississippi Youth, which is an affiliate of Keep America Youth. Keep America Youth is a national organization, a 501c3 organization with over 600 affiliates across the United States, with a strategic plan of doubling the number of affiliates over the next 2 years. Mississippi Youth Organization has 50 affiliates in the state of Mississippi, and we're growing every year. It's because people in our state and in the nation realize the importance of taking care of our environment. The earth is the Lord's. He lets us borrow it for us and our children. Somehow or another, we have failed to adhere to the responsibilities that we as citizens and we as Christians have as far as taking care of our environment and our world. What do we have to leave our children? We abuse the environment and the land that we live in each year. I'm dressed in green today because we are all about keeping America, Mississippi, Mobile County clean, green, safe, healthy, beautiful, and most of all, attractive. Those of us who live here do not exhibit pride and do not take care of our environment. How can we expect others to want to visit us and come here and make their homes and bring their companies and bring their employees here? We must do a better job. We all want to do a better job. Lauderdale County needs to do a better job. We are so blessed with natural resources and beautiful land, but that land is scarred by litter and misuse and not being well cared for. We at Meridian, Lauderdale County, even their beautiful area, want to challenge the citizens of Meridian, Lauderdale County to take their space. We all take the space in front of our houses, on our streets, on our roads. We will take our space, and we won't have to ask anyone else to clean up. We can ask our families, we can ask our friends. You know, you can take care of doing it yourself. If you don't want to do it, if you're not able, then ask someone else to help you. And if you can't do that, a lot of people have enough money to do a lot of other things. Maybe they can pay someone to clean up their space. Divide your street, divide your road. Say, I'll take from the corner to the middle, you take from the middle to the other corner. And we'll have the prettiest street in town. We ask you to take your space or off your line. Find a mile within Meridian and Lauderdale County. And challenge the other people in your community, in your church, in your school, to do what they can do together to increase the beauty of our land. We don't have to make it beautiful. It's already beautiful. What we need to do is make it clean, make it safe, make it a better place to live, and a place where other people want to come and thrive with our economic development. It's our pleasure today on behalf of the Mississippi Beautiful to present a trailer to Lauderdale County and Meridian to use in cleanups. We recognize that in order for communities to do cleanups, they need to. So we are, in Mississippi Beautiful, is presented free of charge a beautiful trailer park across the street to be used for cleanups. It will be within the control of Lauderdale County, and Jonathan and the board of supervisors have worked together with us and their rules and regulations to protect it and to protect the county's responsibilities and liabilities as far as the use of that is concerned. We are happy to present this to you, and we are happy to put you in charge of it. We do not want to be the person that makes the decisions about who uses it and when they can use it. We want it to be available as much as possible. But that's in your purview. That's in your bailiwick. We want you all to encourage people to use it and to let them use it as possible. I've already seen it in use. It's been in use over the weekends and over the cleanups that we've had lately. And a friend of mine who didn't even know about all of this took a picture and said, I saw a trailer at the accident that had Keep America Beautiful on it. So it's already brought to attention. We must be proactive and we must be involved. We must have the tools. And Keep America Beautiful is happy to help with the tools and with the encouragement to help us reestablish our pride in our community and make a difference. I brought today with you all, this is a litter cleanup in a COVID-19 environment, which has rules and regulations that help us make better cleanups during this period of time. We've all been a little bit affected by the virus and unable to do things that we'd like to do and have to go to have cleanups. That's the most of the truth. And we encourage you to ask us to help you all as we all come up with creative, innovative ideas about how we can make our communities better. And not only am I giving the county some tools, I'm giving each of you a tool. This is a litter getter. And everybody's going to get one. And I want everybody to take them home and get it to your wife, or give it to your children, or maybe we'll take some pictures out of your roads and of your highways of you actually being out there picking up litter. If nothing else, when it's time for re-election, I encourage y'all all to have your litter getters out showing your constituents how you're cleaning up.
That way to put the pressure on Steady Glue.
Well,
That's a way to challenge, put the pressure on it.
Thank you.
and I also want to say how much we appreciate and how much Keep Mississippi we're so glad to see you taking that lead. I commend each of you as supervisors, I commend each of you as citizens, I commend those of you who are working with the program. And together, we can really make a difference and make our community clean, green, safe, more beautiful, and more attractive, and a better place for all of us to live. Thank you very much.
Anybody have any, before you leave, Ms. Bigler, anybody have any?
Hey, Lou, as always, just thank you for your leadership in taking this, and we thank you for the donation. And everything you said was well said. We need to be good stewards of what we have.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you, and Ms. Bigler, whenever I talk to classrooms, different kids and stuff, that's where it starts, you know, and I tell them, I said, be respectful about it, because you see your parent burn something out. Tell them, somebody got to pick that up, you know, I said, it's got to start with them, you know, get growing, you know.
You're so right. You know, the attitude of, I didn't throw that down, has to change. I didn't throw that down, but I will surely pick it up. And that's what we need to teach our children. That's what we need to teach everyone. My children used to dread it when we were driving down the street in my station wagon, and I'd have car full of kids, and I'd see somebody throw something out the window and I'd fall. I'd stop. I said, who threw that out? Do you think anybody would admit it? No. I said, well, it's okay. You're going to be late for cheerleading practice because we're going to see you. So somebody gets out of this car and picks that up, or whether you threw it out or not. They scramble out. And surely they tell me today, and they're all 50-year-old women now, they say, you told us not to throw out your car window. And I said, well, I hope so. Too many people have failed to take that challenge. This is our responsibility. This is not the county's responsibility, even though I appreciate what you all are doing. This is not the city's responsibility. This is the citizens of our community's responsibility. And our children can't learn it unless we exhibit those examples. So I'm going to be asking people to take their space and make a difference. That's not too much to ask. And if you mark your mile, you'll get some exercise and you'll really do it personally as well as clean it up. Thank y'all very much. I appreciate it.
We go to Sheriff Wilson.
Morning, sir.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. All those say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Are you guys heard the title of the procedure in all houses? I don't see a lot of basic personal rules. The city, education staff, and all the money that receives.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. All those say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
I move the federal push code to the church mission course.
So moved.
Second. Discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Item 5, here shows the storm conference courses. Education to the college.
So moved. Second.
Discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
upon the tax assessor's recommendation, I so move.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, ayes have it. That's right.
Speaker. One rush. So moved.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, ayes have it.
Second item.
So moved for discussion.
Second.
Discussion.
Mr. President, that's when we talked about work session on Thursday that would need to be included in the local agreement. So it's not be something to be appropriately approved. So, well, item 2, just request on specifically this, there's the work sitting now, but yes, we talked about in item 3 on Thursday, and then local agreement potentially with the school district about, the pad, I'll call it, for the solar panels at Northeast Middle School. We put both of those in the local agreement, but that's something the school district needs to pick up. So with that, I recommend that y'all deny the motions you have on the table now, or simply withdrawing. It's not appropriate for.
Can we table it for further?
Well, I mean, it's not something appropriate for the motions, and I think the local agreement should receive the motion.
I will
Withdraw the motion.
withdraw the motion.
I'll withdraw my second.
May I have to reach out?
Typically, it comes to the board, but I mean, and then, they'll get the board's direction on how you want to prepare it. So, how do you want to proceed?
I mean, I'll be glad to.
Who have you talked to them so far?
I'll reach out.
Item 3 would be an item to take. You have anything on to approve now, so.
I would just say from the discussion that we had about civil links Thursday, that we need to make a decision if we want to move forward.
What's the request updates?
Mr. Todd wasn't here, I'm just gonna touch on something that, they brought, and you may be aware of it, an update on doing this, and in my personal opinion, I don't think we'd ever got 300,000 out of the solar plant out there on Knox Road if we hadn't had several.
Some of the stuff that shows that it's gonna make bigger and decide, help make decisions, for us, much, versus having to ride the road, measurements. That's.
I know we need to move on, but one of the things that I know for sure is, a couple of things I know for sure, is Knox Road is 100% active. It paid for itself 2 or 3 times just in that one event. But the roads that we've chosen to micro surface versus overlay has paid for itself as well.
All the bricks.
And, one other comment, Mr. President, certainly, this board, appreciates you bringing Civil Links to us. Without it, who would we be? Thank you. Good morning.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Morning, Mr. President, Board. My first item, I need approval of an agreement between Management and Training Corporation, East Mississippi Correctional Facility, and Lauderdale County Board of Supervisors for the purpose of establishing a coordinated and unified response to an emergency plan that may be activated at East Mississippi Correctional Facility may be entered into effect basically immediately. Basically, it's a mutual aid agreement for the correctional facility.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it.
Next, I need approval of Lima's participation in the District 6 Hazard Mitigation Plan and authorize the board president to sign that necessary paper.
So moved. Second.
Discussion. All in favor say aye. Opposed? Ayes have it.
Next, I need to include in the minutes that Tim Sesson has been hired as an archive director. My next item is I need approval of resolution applying for NDAH grant. That's a grant that you guys approved a month or so ago. This is just a resolution that goes along with it that outlines some of the responsibilities.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it.
Next, I need approval to apply for a human resource job.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. All right, let's get that off.
It's gonna be 2 weeks after we can get it in the paper. One of the things over the next day or two that I'm gonna do is sit down with Linda, because I know we wanna do some movement in that department to figure out exactly how that is. It'll be at least 2 weeks from this Thursday, maybe even.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it.
Next, I need approval to advertise for a sports complex visibility RFQ to be paid for by the Lauderdale County Tourism Department.
So moved. Second.
Discussion.
Mr. President, certainly the key word there is to be paid for by Lauderdale County Tourism Department, not the board.
No discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Next, I need approval to sell excess scrap metal at market value to Southern Scrap LLC.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Next, I need approval to adopt the PPI program for Public Information Plan 2020 that was approved by the PPI committee. This is confirmed. This is what
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Next, I need approval to accept a donation from Keep America Beautiful for a 6x12x3 trailer with a 4-foot gate. Serial number is listed there. The value is $2,049.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion.
Next, I need approval for the following inventory list per Tempo or inventory clerk, inventory deletions ratified to September 23rd, 2020. And I need approval of FY 19 and 20 inventory for Ms. Mooney to send to the state.
So moved. Second.
Discussion. All those say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
And one thing that's just a note of information, this week starts the migration of E911 over to the new CAD. They expect it to be a flawless integration, but it actually will start tomorrow and it should conclude on Thursday. That concludes my President Board, good morning. First item, I ask you to consider a motion to authorize and approve the retention of Attorney E. Gregory Snowden at a rate of $175 per hour as to represent the Lauderdale County Board of Supervisors in the case of Queen City Warehouse and Transload LLC versus the Board of Supervisors of Lauderdale County in case number 20 CD 113, Circuit Court of Lauderdale County, number September 22, 2020.
So moved. Second.
Discussion.
Of course, this is the tax appeal.
All those say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Next, ask consider a motion to ratify and approve the contract and lease agreement by and between Lauderdale County and the Lauderdale County Emergency Medical Services District for the business Metro Ambulance Service. Number on December 1, 2019.
So moved. Second.
Discussion. All those say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Item 3, I ask you to consider a motion to ratify and approve the Employee Wellness Services Agreement by and between Lauderdale County and Anderson Regional Medical Center effective August 1, 2020.
So moved. Second.
Discussion. All those say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Moving to item 4, I ask you to consider a motion to authorize and approve the memorandum of understanding by and between Lauderdale County, Lauderdale County Sheriff, the Lauderdale County School District relative to school resource officers, number September 1, 2020.
So moved. Second.
Discussion. All those say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Item 5, that pertains to our ongoing effort to get drainage work out on Kiwanee Road. So I have to consider a motion to authorize, approve an order authorizing and approving the retention of Attorney Lou Daggett, the law firm of Bailey Daggett, at a rate of $175 an hour, to represent Lauderdale County and to commence and prosecute eminent domain proceedings to obtain the necessary rights of way, road, and/or drainage work on or adjacent to Kiwanee Road against the state and/or areas of Tommy Dean Ryan, number September 1, 2020.
So moved. Second.
Discussion. This is pretty good.
It is, and we're drawing to the, we hope to be able to do this without any other name, we're getting to the point where the grant's about to expire, strange work that needs to be done, we've already gotten an easement on the other side of the road, it's just very small, section line. Get right away with it.
And Mr. President, this has been ongoing for over a year now.
Lauderdale, same, right? Protecting the same.
Yes. Yes.
Right.
It's been a while since I looked at it, but it was pretty bad watch.
You're still there?
Yeah. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it.
Mr. President, I've got a couple other items in the ask for amendments for legal agenda, and then there are several, I'll take them one by one, if that's okay. At the after work session on Thursday, we received a 16-section land lease. So I'm asked for a motion to approve, amend the legal agenda. That'll be to approve a farm residential lease, 16-section public school trust land by and between the Board of Trustees, the Meridian Public School District, and David Purvis, and authorize the Board of Directors to execute the same.
Discussion. All those say aye. Opposed? Ayes have it.
With that, now, Mr. President, I ask to consider a motion to approve a farm residential lease, 16-section public school trust land by and between the Board of Trustees, the Meridian Public School District, and David Purvis, and authorize the Board of Directors to execute the same.
Discussion. All in favor say aye. Opposed? Ayes have it.
And next, Mr. President, we've had, this will be for two orders. We had a presentation by 4-H on Thursday, the work session. Neglected to include it in the agenda. Ask for a motion to amend the legal agenda to approve in substantial form a pro forma order authorizing Mississippi State University Extension Service to initiate the process under the policy procedures of the Extension Service and MSU to employ an individual in Lauderdale County position of extension agent for the first order, and the second order will be for the position of extension agent to employ responsibilities.
So moved. Second.
Discussion. All in favor say aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it.
All right, Mr. President, ask you to consider a motion to approve in substantial form a pro forma order authorizing the State University Extension Service to initiate the process under the policies and procedures of the Extension Service and Mississippi State University to employ an individual in Lauderdale County for the position of extension agent with agricultural and natural resources / 4-H responsibilities, for the board to provide $14,890 in support of the salary cap.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
The next one is to consider motion to approve in substantial form a pro forma order approving Mississippi State University Extension Service to initiate the process under the policies and procedures of the Extension Service and Mississippi State University for an individual in Lauderdale County for the position of extension agent with 4-H responsibilities, that providing up to $50,000 in support of the salary for that individual.
So moved. Second.
Discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Last item, Mr. President, we talked on the work session about So we're going to provide you with the first page of the proposed resolution of intent for a bond issue on the Lauderdale County Government Complex.
Lake for one shoulder.
Okay.
We're not holding it here,
Thank you. For the Lauderdale County Government Complex, and to include, of course, the law enforcement center and the necessary infrastructure work, but also would provide for roads and bridges with an intent to be able to reimburse this last bond issue on the money that's been spent on that roads and bridges. So what you have is really that first on page 1 is the big all caps block titled resolution, which describes the scope. It's a broad resolution. You see some of those items are split through. The items that are highlighted would enable us to reimburse roads and bridges on expenses on the work down on the site on there. Of course, the amount on the for the bond issue blank. Up to amount. So really, that's provided to you for discussion purposes. I know it's something we talked on Thursday at the work session about an up to amount. I talked to Sam Key this morning about timing, and that is the approval resolution with intent today. We're looking at about 90 days to get to closing. One thing would be the negotiated line bond issue is going to go to the Mississippi Development Bank, and that is so you've got a time things to coincide with meetings with the Mississippi Development Bank, that meets once a month. So it's possible that you could have a closing before the end of the year. It's more likely that the closing will be there. That's it. That's what we're looking at.
So the marked out part, or that has a line through it, that is gonna be omitted?
Correct. Like office buildings and jails.
That's the only problem that's the only thing I have a question or concern about is marking jails off. I don't think we would be doing ourselves a service by omitting jails, because we know something's gonna have to be done sooner or later. And if there is any kind of money left over, that's something we want to think about in the beginning. We don't need to back ourselves in a corner by omitting jails at this time. Whether it's reconstructing, remodeling, building new, I just don't see we need to omit jails. That's me personally.
Yeah, that's certainly be a policy decision for the board. Yeah.
I mean, roads and bridges and all that, yes, but
Did strike though, included money for roads and bridges, but not to buy equipment, not to buy equipment for roads and bridges. That's something
it's just jails I hate to, and I think I've talked to, I know Jonathan, I've had this conversation. Just, I just hate to do that.
And I'll tell you the reason we struck the jails on the proposed resolution is because based on the projected cost of this complex to include reimbursement for roads and bridges, is that there would be enough money in that. Certainly not to build a jail.
I actually talked to Kyle about it. I talked to Kyle about it. And if we omit jail, then that means you have to do a second bond. And I don't think anyone on this board wants to do a second bond. I think we got one shot to do this, we need to do it. And if it means reconstructing the jail where we have or building new, we really need to look at that also. Not hinder the progress going on with the courthouse at all, but we don't need to box ourselves in either.
Well, I would definitely agree with Mr. Thaggart. There's not money in here to build a new, but I do agree with you. If there's some money in this to do a little renovation that needs to be done, we need to entertain that idea now.
Yes, because we all know the shape of the policy.
Well, no doubt, you've got an obligation to provide a healthy, humane environment for detainees in a lot of their county detention facilities. So, this would provide money to help do renovations as those become necessary.
And in my opinion, we've been doing that through our budget every year.
Yeah.
The sheriff brings us recommendation, remodeling, restructure, whatever, and we have met his needs to a degree.
But, and I agree, but there's some other issues that we're gonna have to address probably sooner than later. And I just don't wanna box ourselves out of that by taking it out.
I agree, but I did have to disagree about probably the second bond.
Yeah. Or do we, so you wouldn't wanna do it in one? Like I said, I wasn't here Thursday, and y'all probably discussed all this Thursday.
One question I have is, like, how the time in getting this stuff out, and say we go through the process, and all the money, and then we come in, what happens?
Oh, you don't have to complete it. I mean, you don't. This just starts the process. So,
I mean, I wonder how does this work with, the courthouse, bidding this out, how would that,
so it bids on the,
on the project, when will that fall?
So, if I may,
sure.
you know, I have to take what our cost construction manager Yates tells us is that when he gave us that number a couple of weeks ago of 47, that was his, I feel good about this number. He said, now I could tell you a lot less, but you know, we do have to go through that bidding package and that process. So I have to believe that, you know, if we say 47 or if we decide 50 today, that's not to exceed that number. You know, that's our safe, and you know, we talked about we're going to have to furnish it. But I really have to believe through the bidding process that 47 number is going to be lower. That was his safe number. You know, I think we got to trust what Justin told us on that. I don't see it going over that.
It's going to be after
You get the money.
Yeah, and I'm
After
sorry.
January.
I thought you were talking about the bond itself.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I misunderstood.
Yeah, so, and I thank you for jumping on that, but yeah, it'll be after. You gotta have
Yeah.
money.
So we can't do
You don't bid
anything
it till you have the money.
until after
That's,
January.
I was just wondering how that.
We've been, I mean, it's not like we've been really just sitting back letting it go by. We actively been working, especially the two companies that hired. But it's just been a slow process. It's a big building to make sure you get all your I's dotted and T's crossed. I would have liked to have been going out for bids now. This coming in, the resolution coming in now, or not in January. We're signing on the dotted line now, because I think the interest rates will be, and hopefully they'll be the same in January. But as we all know, that's not a trend that happens too often, but they stay the same after presidential elections.
When you had your, of course, the presentation last meeting, or last work, not yesterday, but in the last couple meetings from the, when Bob and Justin were here, and Justin gave his cost projection, but the number he was comfortable with, not to exceed, but I know that doesn't include a number to furnish courthouse, the number something talked about on Thursday. So that would be in addition to this building, money for this building.
And as far as Justin and Bob, those guys being ready to go out for bid, I think you could tell them today, hey, we're ready to go out for bid, and I think within like a week or so-ish, they could be ready. I think their part of it, and it's in phases, because I don't know if y'all heard him, but he's mentioned several times, it's going to be in phases. So phase one, they're pretty much ready to go with sending out bids on packages on phase one now. Is that correct?
Yes. Phase one just being the base, the groundwork, kind of
Foundation.
infrastructure, foundational.
And they're ready for that now, so it's really whenever this comes back, we decide on a number, which I think is going to be the biggest discussion we have. I just hate to omit jail because you never know. I can see if it said park and recreation, it's not. It's actually something that's a county facility, and I just hate to omit something that we own, and that we're going to have to do something with. I just hate to see that part omitted from that. Whether if it is a second bond or a third or fourth bond, I just hate to see that omitted from it because you don't ever know. It's like the courthouse. We can't walk away from it. We have to do something.
Trying to think of a good analogy. It's better to have it in there than not have it in there. Kind of
It's better to
need it,
need
not
it.
have it.
Yeah, it's better to have it not need it than need it not have it.
Man, that's a question here, because I just heard us saying that 47 up to number, we really don't know. None of that cost include furniture and new facilities, so that money probably should be there for that. And I understand the jail situation and all that, but it's no money in there for jail not to do anything. It's impossible to do anything that's going to have really major impact on the jail from what I'm hearing.
I think we should talk, just say we're just leaving that option open. Yes.
Here's your flexibility.
One thing when you talk about your furnishings, you can always do the short term on the local banks. I mean, you really want to finance a desk. When you get a small loan from the bank, I say small, 2 million, whatever that number is, for less than 5 years, because I think we can all agree that there's no desk that we'll buy now that's going to last for 20 years.
Now, the desk in our office, they're probably 40, 45 years old.
Yeah.
And they're just as
They don't
strong
make them like
today
that anymore.
as they were when they bought them. So
Oh, I'm taking my desk with
you
me.
can't buy that quality of desk anymore. So I do agree with you. I do agree with you on that. That's probably smarter.
So, that was a great point. Thank you for bringing that. So I guess our question is, just to get to it, is what's the dollar amount that we want to borrow and not exceed? Is it Justin's 47 that he threw out a couple weeks ago, or do we add a little bit to that, reminding the public that that doesn't mean whatever we do today that's how much we're going to spend. That's a safe zone not to exceed. Does that make sense?
So I authorize you to borrow up to that amount.
But not
doesn't mean you're
necessarily
going
he's going to spend it.
Right.
I guess, and I talked to Kyle about it also. I would like to get them here. I want to know, because I think raising taxes is inevitable. And I hate it, because we haven't done that in another 9 years I've been here. But everybody wanted this. Now we all have to pay for it. So I want to know what that looks like per household per $100,000. You know, we've said this, we've done it in times past. I want to know what it looks like, because when you go buy a new car, you may be looking at the base price vehicle, but you may say, hey, well, for another, couple $100 or another $50 a month, I can get a little bit. I want to know what that looks like. I don't want to settle for 42 million, and then it wouldn't be but just a couple more dollars to be able to do more with the jail and with the courthouse, do it all at once. If that makes sense.
We'll talk about that on Thursday.
We did, go ahead. We did it on Thursday, and if I'm remembering right, Chris said based on a $200,000 home, the taxes would go up between $40 and $50 per year for 20 years. Am I quoting right?
That was based off of some calculations that Kyle did.
Excuse me.
Think about that. We've been talking about 40 million, now it's moved up since the last numbers. Anything over 40 million, I'm not comfortable with that without having to Cheryl with the numbers and possibly talking to Bob and things. It's anything over that. I know that's the number we've been looking at the whole time, but yeah, I know that would take, stuff in phases. But I mean, personally, that's wrong. The decision has been made today, that's the side.
I mean, and to be honest with you, I wouldn't mind calling a special session just to get Bob, Justin, Butler, Snow, and have numbers ready. Not say, well, hey, I gotta go check, I don't have this. No, you know this is coming, you have your numbers ready. I want to know what it's gonna be. We have a special session, and it is strictly, because this is just as important as the design of this building and what it looks like when who goes in what office. This is more important than that building. So I wouldn't mind having a special session, work session, having these key people come in and have their stuff ready. I don't want to hear, well, no, I got to go get it. You know what we're asking for, you have it ready. Is that what we're going?
What's the timetable look like that? Because we all agree, we don't want to press the pause button on this project. We don't want it to stale, we don't want it to stall. But I understand and respect what you're saying. I would look to you, Lee, and you, Miss Cheryl, about your thoughts on what Mr. Todd said.
Here, before they answer, here would be my suggestion, is let's make a list of do-outs that we need to make this decision. And then the next work session, we can press it in next Thursday and show them a bit sooner than that. But I think that would give us plenty of time to get all the players lined up in the same room together. There's going to be some coordinating effort.
And I'm okay with that, but I want that at the end, or say at 1 o'clock. I want it to be where we're not rushing through, so we can get to this next one, because we got 15, 20 other people waiting. I want it to be where we actually sit down and have a good, healthy discussion about it.
And most of that information is going to be internal. It's going to be Cheryl, it's going to be tax assessor, Justin and Bob. And Butler's not going to be here, but Steve. But we, and of course, the reason we talked on Thursday about having a proposed resolution of intent today with a blank. So that was so anyway, that's the way the board on Thursday is ready to want to talk about this today.
Mr. President, in saying what Mr. Thackett did, and I'll bring just something to the board's attention, a couple of things. First off, we got the holidays coming up. To make this, and we usually don't have a work session before Thanksgiving or at that time, and one at Christmas, so that's something that would have to be called also. In saying that, I brought this morning, this is a folder that I have kept since being elected in 2008 from the grand jury. And just randomly going through and picking one out in November of 2009, the grand jury complained about the mold, paint, peeling, sealing, falling, and so forth. In 2011, February of 2011, the grand jury sent their recommendation in caps that the verbiage here says that it is in bad to terrible shape. August 2018, courthouse is horrible. In one of the grand jury's report, they said we needed to take a bulldozer and bulldoze it down. I know it's only 12 people on a grand jury, but the people that come in that's poor to be on that grand jury is probably over 100. So you just think about how many grand juries it's been since 2008, and how many people have said that this courthouse is in bad shape, you call bulldoze it down, needs a new one. So personally this morning, I am ready to move forward and put a number on that blank that's on this page. I don't have a problem with it because to me, it's past time. I had a young man tell me at church yesterday, and when I say a young man, he's 73 years old. He told me when he was a boy, that bathroom over there looks the same as it does today. So, you know, and I know you guys are all, and like myself, I don't want to raise taxes, but we've got to make a decision and move forward with it, because January will be here and we still haven't got a decision. And if we started today, it would take over 2 years to build it. So, I am ready to put a number in that blank this morning, Mr. President. And I would propose that we put $50 million in it.
Such a form of motion.
That's in the form of a motion.
I'll second it with discussion, to continue discussion.
Discussion.
Okay. The numbers that Kyle threw out a second ago, or Mr. Wayman threw out, the numbers that Kyle worked up last week. Feel confident in those numbers?
Okay, on 40, I don't think.
Well, I just mean on per household, you know, a $200,000 house.
One meal usually is dollars for $100,000. And it depends on what kind of homestead, it's a rental house or business, it's whatever. Yeah. Your assessed value.
Saying 50 is, again, I'll remind everyone, if there's anyone out there watching and or going to be reported on, that 50 number's not to exceed. That doesn't mean that we're going to spend that much. That's just a safe number to work within. It could be 44 million. It could be 45. We won't know until the bids come out. We do know that Yates' number was 47, and that was his feel-good number not to exceed.
Was that with the road department doing the?
Actually, it was not.
Oh. Okay, so that was one.
That's a couple
But it's
million
no
right there.
furniture.
No furniture, which is gonna take, if the road department does do the infrastructure part of it, then that would be used for furniture.
Or something else.
Or
It
something
gives you
else.
more flexibility.
Yeah.
Yeah, good point.
And you'll have a lot more short-term debt falling off between now and then to make up your difference for your furniture loan. You know, I mean, just the CAD itself, little short-term debt that's rolling off.
Will we have another bond roll on?
Oh, there'll be,
Let's see, 2026 was that?
yeah,
That's not far off.
yeah, around that time frame, there's some
5, 6 years.
some savings from bonds, but, if you did the 50, like Mr. Newell is suggesting, if Rush's people were to do some of the work that you guys feel comfortable with them doing, you did a short-term loan at the end for furniture and things of that nature, then that would leave you a couple million for a jail, possibly, for the jail and to do some of that road work that was done on the money.
I would also remind us about the Senate Bill 3039 that's going to generate money to help offset. Some people may disagree with me, but I've got to believe with the work we've done at the industrial park, if it wasn't for COVID, we'd already see more revenue coming in from our industrial park. I got to believe that's going to happen in the next year to two. So there's going to be some revenue coming in.
So are you comfortable with 50 being, I just hate, and I'm not trying to throw money, I'm just not trying to say, hey, we need to go borrow, 70 million. I believe we have one shot. To me personally, you have one shot. You go after another bond, and I know we can't make decisions on re-election and all that, which is, it's just the nature of the beast. But you say 50, if I'm gonna get beat, it's gonna be because we did something right and not saying, well, dang, I got beat, we still didn't do this right. We needed another $1.5 million, but we didn't do it. We could have done it right if we had another $1.5 million. So
I'm comfortable with 50.
I'm
see what you're
comfortable
saying.
with 50, but I'm telling, we know we have other facilities that's really close by that we're gonna have to do something. And the last thing I wanna do is come back to the people and say, okay, hey, we gotta do this. That's the last thing I wanna do.
What to me, I'm putting my trust in Yates when they say 47. I am, as Supervisor Wells said, hopeful that it would be under, but I am putting my confidence. Yates been around a long time. If Joe the Jack the Ripper or whatever would have said 47, I wouldn't have the confidence there. But being Yates, I'm comfortable with their point.
I'm definitely comfortable with 47, but going back to, what if we need $2 million to reconstruct something?
I think that money will be, I think it's going to be within the 50.
But do we think, or do we want to know? That's my only thing. Look, and I'm with you, Mr. Newell. I don't want us to take my foot off the gas pedal, but we haven't rushed this. We got 2 weeks. We haven't rushed so far. Do we need to look into what it would cost to do that? And I'm comfortable with 50. I will vote for 50 now, because I think it's going to come in well below that. I really do. And that's just them talking to Justin every chance we get, and even Bob. I really believe it's going to come in over that.
Well, hearing you two guys is the reason I made that motion this morning. You're on the committee, and you have, in my opinion, kept the board abreast, and hearing what Yates said last week and so forth.
So what if we did 55? What if we did 55, and that would give us plenty of time to get someone to come in and look at some facilities that we need, even the courthouse, what we have now, and the jail, and to say, hey, look, this is what we got, this is what we want to do, how much it's going to cost. You still got time. It's to not exceed that amount. I don't want to go that far, but the last thing I want to do is back us up into a corner to where we have to come back to the people and say, hey, well, we shot, aimed, and then pulled the trigger. We want to aim, pull the trigger, and shoot.
Well, again, like I said, I'm gonna put my trust in Yates, and I made the motion for 50. That's where I'm gonna stand.
Question: is there anything else you can do any further without this blank being filled in, or this is where we're at?
First step is this resolution. Before you move to a vote, I'm gonna ask you to restate your motion. I'm gonna give you an opportunity. If I will, I interpret the motion as a motion to approve a substantial form. A resolution declaring the intent of the Board of Supervisors of Waldo County, Mississippi to issue one or more series general obligation bonds to the county, general obligation of the county for sale, the City Development Bank, and/or to enter into a loan with the City Development Bank, all a total aggregate principal amount not to exceed $50 million, to raise money for the purpose of providing funds, purchasing or erecting, equipping, repairing, reconstructing, remodeling, and enlarging county buildings, courthouses, jails, and related facilities, purchase of land therefore, constructing, reconstructing, and repairing roads, highways, and bridges, and acquiring the necessary land, including land for road building materials, acquiring rights of way therefore, and for other authorized purposes under sections 19-9-1, etc. City Code 1972 as amended, and supplemented from time to time, including paying for the costs of borrowing, directing publication, the notice of such intention and for related purposes. Motion.
Yes, sir.
Good. Ask for a motion to amend the motion to state exactly that.
It's for a motion to amend my motion.
Second.
So this is amending the motion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
This is not approved.
Correct.
Any nays?
All right.
So now we're approving.
Yeah.
Got a statement.
What he said.
The ask motion is to approve the motion as amended.
Approve the motion as
I make a motion to.
Well, yeah, it's cleaned up, it's now ready for decision before.
Okay.
We need,
You have to restate it.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
I'll have to vote no.
Please let the
I
record,
want more.
please let the record reflect Mr. Pond, Mr. Norwood.
Just pray for
No,
me.
no, solid.
Is that, I mean, I'm just making sure.
I don't know, do we need to go back and visit our minutes then, so I can pay more attention? I thought we amended it, question me on where we amend. I stated the fact that, hey, why don't you put 60 minutes if you're concerned about that, if you don't think 55 is gonna do enough? I think we just all wishing and don't really know, so. Yeah, nay, like that.
We may need to do more. That's the only thing I'm worried about. To do everything at once.
Still rush or something, or we basically stated this is the intent, right, that we need to put in there, and I thought we discussed the other day, possibly 50. I mean, if y'all got concerns, now it's the time to put them on the table and let's work through it.
Well, and the number is 50 now, or is up to 50.
Yeah.
That's Mr. Norwood's
But
motion.
you more comfortable with 55? I heard you say
It's
that.
just, and
Well, here's the
it's not
deal,
that I wanna throw money.
you can put 60 out there if
You
it's up
don't
to.
have to spend it, and I don't want to.
Absolutely.
I don't, God forbid, I mean, my kids are gonna be the one paying for this too, and me, I'm not moving anywhere. I'm
If
not
you don't
going.
do it now, they're gonna pay twice as much when it's time to
It's
do
just,
it.
and you've said it numerous times,
Yeah.
that if the board would have done it this 20 years ago, the interest rate was nothing, and it would have cost, a couple $1 million to renovate the whole courthouse. Well, do we get 5 years down the road and we said, man, we should have done that, we could have with this interest rate, but now it's this, the building costs have gone up. That's the only thing I'm afraid to get. I just don't want to box ourselves in, and I don't want to spend any more money. I'm comfortable with 47, I promise you, and I think it's gonna come in way under 47.
I don't.
But what else is out there that we have to fix? We just don't have a courthouse. We have jail facilities. You know, we have so many other things that we have to worry about other than one. And I just don't want to box ourselves in one right now where there's a really good interest rate, construction costs are down. Do we box ourselves in with 50? Or do we do 55 and be comfortable, not having to spend it, but have it there? Because I don't want to go tell my people that, yeah, we could have, but we didn't because we were trying to, we're trying to get that down as low as we could.
Have a, Mr. Norwood, I'm trying to see the record. Yes.
Well, you have to, my memory is that you approved Robert's Rules of Order, and that with the exception that a silence goes with the majority. At this point in time, you don't have a majority. I'll check that.
How's
And
that?
It's an
Look,
exception.
if this
to-
goes through, I'm good. We'll go with 50 million. If it doesn't, I'm gonna turn around and make one for 55. I just think we need, I don't wanna box ourselves in. I don't want this to be a
Mr.
mistake.
President, are you through taking the vote?
Well, I swore,
I think it's a tie, Mr. President.
so, it's no way.
Hey, I'm sitting here trying to absorb as much as you guys have. Y'all had a committee, y'all bringing reports back. Apparently, y'all had conversations since the last time I've had a conversation. You missed the conversation we had the other day. And it's still shifting. And the only thing I'm asking us to make sure we at that point. If we at that point, I'm ready to vote on it. We talked about 50. I know you said that, hey, when we first started talking about it, we was gonna do it for 20. Now we at 50.
Which is asinine.
I guess we do need to move forward and put a number there so we can at least have a starting point. We don't have to, I guess it could be amended to go to 55 if you have to do a second burn this. You're gonna have to do a second burn this year anyway if you're gonna do anything for the jail. You're gonna have to do something different if you do anything for the courthouse. If you're gonna move people out of this building across the street, we hadn't calculated, in my opinion, that. Now, I didn't have that discussion with anybody about it.
But we wouldn't have to do it if you gave yourself enough room while interest rates are down, construction costs are down. So if it said we feel real comfortable it's gonna go into 47, okay, well, that's great. And you know that savings goes into a courthouse fund like we have now, or say that, they can remodel both.
Well, that's what I was thinking, until discussing with, Mr. Robert, discussing with your timeline of holding those funds is going to be too long. And by the time you get everybody out of there, that deal moved, funds will be there too long.
Well, okay, Mr. Chairman, I'm sure you done had a lot more discussion than most of us. What do you feel comfortable with?
My personal is to build the main building at courthouse and get everybody out of there. The second phase, or the nursing service will utilize this building. And do the second phase, and all that. That's 40 million, go ahead and take care of the main part of the large building. I know interest rates and all that, but that's what I heard, just do 40, that's really what we calculated. We talked about all that now.
Okay, let's say if we come in at 40, we still had a security blanket of 50. You don't have to spend it.
All right, I thought we had 4 years to spend even bond, or no, I mean,
Not necessarily.
is it less? So how does the road and bridge bond
It's
work?
time.
How does that?
That is calculated without time. We have to ride the roads, we have to do
So
a
it's 2
4-year road
years.
plan.
Well, my recollection is 3. So, but there are rules that apply to holding it, all right? You can't, and you have, I'm trying to draw a blank on the term. Ideally, you don't go beyond that term, but as long as you're not making money on the bond issue, basically.
Right.
And we haven't done that in the past.
You can't invest it.
Which I
Cheryl, what's the term? Arbitrage. Arbitrage.
I was
We have-
thinking arbitration.
Yeah.
Different problem.
But we have that, and I'll say an audit, periodically, and maybe it's annually, but, Cheryl, it's just, my memory is periodically. Yeah.
That sounds like.
The point is to come in and take a look at that.
That sounds bad.
Yeah. So, and that's the deal, is to make sure that money that you're holding, that you're not making.
You're not trying to make money, which I understand.
Right.
Is there any way, I mean, so that's federal law? And there's no way to say, hey, this is why we're doing this. No, we're not gonna get everything done in 2 years or 3 years.
Well, that's
'Cause
also.
it looks
the
like it's
reason-
smart on government too, to go ahead and lock in the lower interest rate, then wait 4 years and then lock into a higher one.
Right, well, that's also a reason you could do it in serials. All right, so you wouldn't have to issue the entire amount at one time, but you could issue one you could issue one, now and do one, a year later. All right, now, might the interest rates change, maybe.
And that's what we're doing now.
But, I don't know what extent, I know we're working on the courthouse now, and we've got some more exterior stuff, there's some things you can be doing simultaneously. And it would involve moving people out.
We have 3 different parts of government that needs attention, and none of them in the same vicinity. I mean, I can see,
What is it? What 3 are you talking about?
the courthouse,
Okay,
jail.
and down there. Y'all heard what Cal said. Are y'all in agreement with that, or do we need to just go? We can be here for a long time discussing it. Do we need to table this matter and bring Bob or whoever else in before we make this
Well, that's
decision?
up to you.
I thought we.
That's up to you.
We got 2 votes for it.
Okay, well, in that case, then, it's question whether we are prepared to move on. I understand Mr. Newell is ready for the 50, there's other discussions about that, and I'm gonna say, my vote is gonna be to let us make sure that we have a special call meeting. Is that what you asked for?
I think Chris was.
Oh, we need to nail it down. I don't wanna be the one to go out and say, hey, let's move forward and we need it to be still, cause I just don't feel like I had that information yet. I'm just saying that. No, I'm gonna be a no. We just have a work session and come back and do it next week or something, that way we can move forward.
More discussion, the motion fails, we'll have more discussion the next work session.
And I'm for it. I just think
You can do
we need to go a little higher on our
You
scale.
have a vote, I mean, it's,
You can do it in a work session, or you can do a special meeting. You want to be in a position to approve something, it's up to you, however you want to posture it. If you do another work session, then you're waiting a few more days, or if you want to do a special meeting, and then, again, those are different options.
And if you do a special meeting, you have to have 5 business days notice.
well, let's just do it in the work session and we'll have like we did this time.
Yeah, that puts you Tuesday having to call one, so, another 2 days will put you in the work session.
So, almost footage.
Oh, yeah.
On 15th, we'll try to keep the agenda short as possible, and do all that, do y'all good with that?
Or if you want to change the motion to 55, cap it at 55, I'll vote yes right now. I just think we don't need to box ourselves in. That's the only, without knowing everything that's coming to us, that's the only thing.
And the only reason that I wouldn't do that takes my trust away from Yates, that they don't know what they're talking about.
Well, I think, Mr. Newell, I think the difference is what Todd's talking about. The difference in that is for a jail. I think the number, I understand what your point is, the number for the courthouse is that faith and confidence is there. Is the expectation of the jail and any work that's done over here is where that difference comes in.
Because I don't want to do it at 50, and then, okay, we say 2.5 a day. We needed $4 million to do both of them at the same time. Well, what are you gonna do now? You're out of money, you're gonna have to go to court, you're gonna have to go back to a bond.
Question, can we find the answers to what you're asking about across the street or the jail by our next work session?
If you're wanting solid numbers, I'm gonna say, just because there's so many moving parts. We do have a number for a roof over there, we do have some over the jail, we do have some basic numbers right there, but as far as something that can be hard, fast, held accountable, then that's gonna take several months. Because you're talking, bringing in a mechanical engineer to figure out HVAC, mechanical stuff, any drainage issues that you have, it's gonna take some time. Sheriff, do you agree with what I'm saying?
So, in my mind, as I'm sitting here, the 47 number, I think Mr. Newell and I agree. Yates gave us that number with confidence. We think with the work that Russian's guys can do and with the bidding process, it's going to be well below 47. I'd like to think with that $50 million not to exceed, we're going to have that money in there to look at those. But, I think we got $4 million built in here personally. Maybe
Maybe
more.
more.
Is that enough to do what we need to do? next door, across the street. I understand what you guys are saying.
That's my own-
I'm not sitting here, I'm not
That's
mad
my
at any of
only-
this discussion or
that's
views
my
that any
only
of us
concern.
have. I get it, this is a big deal.
I mean, this decision is probably the most money that you borrow, ever borrowed.
Hands are one thing.
Ever, so I mean, it's.
And I understand and
It needs to
respect
have
past
healthy
boards that haven't
discussion.
done anything.
I just don't know
past boards
what
didn't
across
do
the street is
anything.
what's taking place over there, what we need to do over there. I hadn't had any discussion with anybody of what we need to do or spend over there.
Mr. Norwood, I would just say that the information that we're going off of is just the information that we've had over the last, how many
Yeah, we went to
years
Jackson.
you've served, of the problems that they've brought before us.
But I will say with confidence that by next Thursday, you're looking for a hard, solid number of what the jail will cost if we cannot.
Or I would even say that across the street.
Yeah, either one, we cannot provide that. And it will cost a decent amount of money to even get those. And not to muddy the waters anymore, I did text Steve Pittman the question, and he said generally it's 3 years, but can be 5 if the architect gives a reasonable, projection that it'll take longer, basic rules if they have to do so.
But that's gonna be like one project. We're gonna have multiple projects going on at one time will that classify as supported by you?
And the board attorney made a great point, and I took the words right out of my mouth about doing it in serials. There's the up to 50 does not mean that you have to, January the 1st, to get a check for 50. You have, I think, up to 2 years after that, Steve, if I remember what Steve said correctly, that you could do 25 million to get through the first year, and then you got 25 million to get you through the rest of the project. You don't have to take it all up front.
It's just like phase, it's just like blanking
Just
the
like a
house.
construction
loan on your house. You got enough money to do blanking, and then once you do blanking, then you've got to finish it and furnish it.
And while that's going on, you've got a lot of your debt, coming off, and some of your short-term loans being paid off. There's a lot of things that's happening behind that, your second, third order effect that is lessening your tax burden at the end of that project. And we're also have to keep in mind that the way that it was structured, if we're really looking at FY '22, at some point inside FY '22, before your payments are due. So it's not as the very next budget, you're seeing it right.
Mr. Rutledge, I may be incorrect about your feelings on this, but I'm guessing that this being a substantial number, that what's the public saying? If we say we're borrowing 50, I'm sure somebody out there is saying, well, if that's what they're borrowing, that's what they're going to spend. I would hope that not be our case, or it be 55 million. Somebody out
Say
there.
we're borrowing 50, we're each getting $1 million apiece.
Well, so the other thing that I worry about,
I'll be a millionaire when this is done.
the other part that I worry about is somebody out there gonna try to hold us up. And, Mr. Newell held up how many years worth of? 13 years of documents saying we need to do something. I don't wanna cross that threshold, and I don't know where that threshold is of the public going, no, we're not gonna do it. And if we get to that point, we've wasted at least, I know I always throw it in my realm, the last 5 to 6 years, and wasted taxpayer money up to this point. We need to see this through. We promised, this is a campaign promise I think every one of us made. And again, I respect each of your opinions about what to borrow.
It's healthy conversation.
All right, so
I have At what point do we say, this board, us 5 people, we did what we said we would do? is it a next board's responsibility to tackle these other issues? Or, Mr. Todd, I don't know if that's the right thing to say.
Oh, you got it down for me.
You know, we said we'd take care of the courthouse problem. That's what we're talking about doing. That across the street is still part of the courthouse problem.
That's because the other boys keep down to us.
Well, and again, I'll repeat what I said a while ago. With all this, I understand why they didn't tackle it.
And Mr. Rhodes, you got a continuing obligation to take care of the gym. Yeah, that's not one you kick down the road.
Yeah.
And you've been doing that.
But we have done that.
You've been making
Like Mr. Rule
renovations,
says.
you know, and you know that there will be additional renovations down the line. It's not the build.
And who's to say we won't be an economic boom happening? And we fill up the need. I'm trying to be more optimistic.
Hope is a horrible plan. And don't get paralysis by analysis.
So, Thursday, next Thursday, ladder line, plus information.
It shall be done.
I mean, I want to know interest rates. I don't want to, well, it may be, I know, if Steve's got to come, I want to know interest rates. I want to know loan, I want to know
I think the number one thing is
everything.
the effect it's going to have on our constituents.
That is my,
The different scenarios.
That's my
You know,
deal.
they did 40, you did 50, you did 60. you
Yes,
know,
that's why I
whatever,
would
you know.
break it down into 5 increments of 5, 10, whatever. I want to know, I don't want to say, well, hold on, I got to get it, or no, I don't have, no. You know this meeting's coming, you better have, I want a stack of paper thicker than Wayne is right there. I want everything. There's no waiting, because once I leave out of there, out of that meeting, my mind will be made up.
If there's anything we need from your tax collector, tax assessor, whatever we need.
Yes, whoever, whatever,
Just know though, just know that especially with interest rates and payments, that is dependent upon the market at the exact time of closing. So with it being the first of October now, and the rates are below 3%, January, we've got a lot of life events happening between now and January. So when you say, I want to know exactly what the rate is, that rate will most assuredly be different one way or another.
What you're talking about is the rate today. That's the only way you can do it.
that's the only thing we can
And
do.
look at it all across the board, that's up to date.
Or unless we say a letter of intent for 60 million, then we go down to 47 in 2 weeks. Because at least you get, I mean, the only thing I think that we're doing is really locking in the interest rate. Well, no, you won't be till January till you lock it in, so it doesn't matter what you do.
Ready, closing.
So why be in a hurry when you're not gonna lock in an
No
interest
matter
rate
what,
till
that's
January?
my
Because
point.
can gets kicked again.
Well, that's true, I don't wanna keep, we don't have a can left.
We don't start there until, when you've got the starting point is the resolution consent.
Right.
Well, then I feel better about my,
To get to
if
the.
we're not locking in till January, we don't know what it's gonna be in January. We should have done this.
Well, but
I know
there's
if we tried.
there's time restraints that you have to back up against. So if we waited till, let's just say November, let's just say you said, well, let's wait till after the election to see what the rates are, then that puts you dealing with February, March.
That's right.
rates. So that's been the conversation of doing the intent, because once you do the intent, 30 days, then you have to do,
Remember, it's
process.
generally about 90 days with the closing.
So
And with,
From the
what
resolution
Wayman
intent,
said, I don't
about
wanna
90
take our
days.
foot off, I don't wanna kick it. We need to make sure we get, we have everything that we've done. I don't wanna bring up another thing that's happened in the past. I don't want that. I don't want no negativity on this board, that we didn't do our due diligence. And if it takes 2 weeks, and we're in the second week of January, then I just don't.
We may be there anyway now, given where we are toward the end of the year. 90 days puts you over into December. You've got 2 holidays there.
And don't forget, if
And
Corona
Mississippi
shows
Development
face
Bank.
again,
Yeah, Mississippi Development Bank, only meets one time a month, so you're likely in early January.
and that's if the virus doesn't break out and shuts everything down.
If anyone is wondering why we didn't get this done before the November election, I don't mean to toss this back at Gates or LPK, but they were compiling numbers. They couldn't tell us that 47 until they ran all their stuff. It's just where we're at in the process. I would love to have gotten it done before the election.
And we
Just for
stayed on
stability
them now,
purposes.
we stayed on them, but It's not you just draw a square out with a pen and paper and say, hey, okay, here's a door here, here's gonna be a bathroom here.
You don't call Lowe's and get
Yeah.
a price on it.
Yeah, we were in one meeting, just for instance, we were in one meeting and Chris or Jonathan, somebody said, well, why don't we just shift this room over 6 feet and give this room more room? And he said, my God. He said, you know what we've gotta do to do that? Wiring's gotta be rerouted, plumbing. I mean, it was 2 days worth of work just to shift a wall 6 feet over. That was it. We're talking about roaming on a pencil mark width. I mean, it's not nothing easy. And when you're talking about 94,000 square foot building, you just can't go shifting things around. Because what you do upstairs, or what you do downstairs, you affect upstairs. But anyway, I feel more comfortable with it. After all that.
All right. Respect.
So as I understand it, then our objective will be in this next work session to hash through all this and then come out of it with direction of how to prepare a resolution of intent for the following meeting, regular meeting. Right, that Monday meeting. I do not. I'm not aware of a need for executive session unless work for recess.
So, would there be any reason why we couldn't do a resolution of intent immediately after that discussion? I don't think.
We normally do it during a work session.
I don't want to say we're happening.
Yeah, I would.
Well, I was just from a
Time standpoint.
From a Paul Roland standpoint.
I agree, but then you have people worrying, don't want to do that in the work session. It's just too late.
Can you do it technically? Yes, but customarily you don't.
Like I said, we moved to number 12 under management, general good welfare, anybody public, speak, 5 minutes, just give the state your name and address.
You know, people will take songs and they rewrite them, and I'll just say Wayne and try. But really, I respect you guys. This is a good conversation today. I don't think it gets any more transparent than what took place today. So I'm still proud of the steps that we've taken tackling this thing. Just tell the public we'll get there. We're not taking our foot off the gas. Just gonna make sure we got all of our facts.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just to the people out there and the people that served on grand jury, certainly disappointed in the vote, but I respect the other gentlemen here and their thoughts, and look forward to moving forward to the day that we do have a intent there. In saying that, my mother-in-law's birthday is Tuesday. I certainly want to wish her a happy birthday Tuesday. My sister-in-law's birthday is October the 9th, so I want to wish her. And my bride of 34 years, our anniversary is this coming Sunday. Certainly want to wish her a happy anniversary. Thank you.
No, let me get to mine. Of course, Mr. Wells and I traveled down to Biloxi, and both of our teams brought home hardware. So Lauderdale County, Meridian, Lauderdale County went out of county and brought home second place on both teams, I know. And I want to, and if the board will allow me, the next board meeting, I want to. Both teams. Soccer team, AFC. And if the board will allow, I want to try to get a resolution written up for Ed Abdallah. I don't know if any of you paid any attention, but he's a high school teacher at a colorful high school teacher at West Lauderdale High School. Great guy, but he actually rode 444 miles on a Natchez trace from Nashville to Natchez, and it was in 30 hours. So he did it for Lee Wallace, which he's going through a rough time right now with some type of cancer, I believe. I don't want to mess that up, but I'll have all the information next week. But he rode 444 miles. That's a long time on a little bitty bicycle seat. but I want to say congratulations to him, and he did it for for awareness for Lee Wallace, which is Amy and Lyle Wallace's daughter. I think she's a senior. Yeah, I think she's a senior at West Lauderdale. I know she's 11th or 12th at West Lauderdale. But if y'all allow me, I'd like to do get him in here, maybe even Lee. And I believe he did it in honor of one other person too. Maybe get them in here and just have a little resolution for them if y'all don't mind.
Give me all the information you can.
He called me while I was in here. But I'm gonna get everything that I can down. How long it took, how many stops he made. Because I'm not even sure he stopped to sleep. For 30, did you say 30 something?
There's something
I don't even know if he stopped to sleep. Yeah. And he's fixing to have another event, hopefully. I don't know if the sheriff's department, he's contacting me about it. He wants to do a 100-mile ride around West Lauderdale School to raise money for something. He's going to ride 100 miles in a square. He's got everybody lined up, lights lined up, everybody. Security, everything. He wants to ride 100 miles in a square circle around West Lauderdale. But
How many laps is it?
it's a mile. One lap's a mile, right?
We're talking about the roads?
Yeah, just the road.
Yeah, that's about a mile.
It's about a mile.
Maybe a little more.
So he's about 100 laps around the school.
I would have to turn around and go back.
I need a relay race.
I wouldn't drive it. I wouldn't know what to do. But anyway, that's all I have.
All right, Commissioner Lackey met with EPA last week. It's really exciting about the internet coming to rural Lauderdale County. They're starting off in Cosville, Lana, and there'll be some households picked up by the end of the year. They have more crews coming in, contractors, they're pulling the cable and the fiber, and there's really understanding of how everything works. I'm having numerous questions. It's just something they're going to wire it all the way inside the house. So any cost at all for the installation. Appreciate Mr. Ryan Mosey, Russ Mayat for handling the autistic gift design. There's Nate Lewis and Jackson. That's a good publicity for our road department and working it out on Harper Road. And update on the bridges mentioned at the work session. The bridge on Highway 80, got word that it will be able to open bids on that on October 30th, and we'll award those that following Monday. So we're very excited to get that ball rolling. That was before we expected to stop y'all to give those people. It's good to have woods open. Woods and Bentonville Collinsville Road, so it's good to get to those two bridges open. So
You don't have anybody calling me.
they've been closed a long time. So
Call and complain a lot.
yeah, we're glad to have those open and look forward to Highway 80. And I know they're working on the work there at Spartan, so glad to see this bridges open like that. All right. That road bridge, they keep on with that. I like that page, it works good right there.
I can just like what the comment is.
All right, is there anything else in the executive session?
That I'm wearing.
All right, so we need a motion to recess until October 19th, 2020, 9 a.m.
Motion.
Second.
Discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, ayes have it.